excited as I am. And I have not only heard Dr. Trulear, but I'm just going to take a point of personal privilege for a moment. Can't really hold it anymore. I'm here today because I sat in Dr. Trulear's class at Howard University, and it changed my life. I sat and he just began to teach us about a system that is not what we were taught in our civics classes. He began to reveal and take the cover off of what is really going on. It was just an awesome experience. So you're in for, I won't say a treat, what I'll say is you're in for a transformational experience. And I'm so glad that you're here. Dr. Trulear is an ordained American Baptist minister, serves as an associate professor of applied theology at Howard University, and is the immediate past president of Gamma of the DC chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. He is the coordinator, should I say correctly at any point? Okay. I know he has worked with the Annie E. Casey Foundation, many other denominations, United Methodist Church, General Board, etc. He has authored over 70 essays, articles, sermons, reviews. I refer to one of his writings in a book as I write my thesis and etc. So he's a graduate of Morehouse College. There's so much here. I'm saying, oh my goodness. But we are so glad to have the distinguished, but what I do want to say is the very, very down-to-earth man of God, Reverend Dr. Trulear.
Well, thank you, Reverend Dudley. Let's make this easy. Harold Lee Trulear, 1000264 George W. Hill Correctional Facility. That's not in the bio. That's not online. It is online, but not in that. But you can. I preached at church once, and the pastor's wife said, "Are you really in jail?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I don't believe you." And so she pulled out her iPad, and on her iPad she had an app called Docket in Your Pocket, which is a Pennsylvania app. And she said, "Were you arrested in Pennsylvania?" I said, "Yeah." She hit the button, typed in my name, my whole jacket came up. She said, "Okay, I believe you." And so for me, this is like a hair club for men. I remember that commercial? At the end of the commercial, the guy says, "I'm not just the owner, I'm a client." All right, so this is personal for me. And so having the opportunity to share with you today what we're doing around the country and invite you to become a part of this movement of congregations that are engaged in business of reentry is a real privilege. It's also a privilege for me to be in Pittsburgh. My brother went to Pitt, his wife went to Pitt, and my nephew's a rising sophomore at CMU. So I've been in Pittsburgh a lot over the years for family reasons, also doing some work with the Hines Endowment for juvenile violence reduction, where we were hosted very, very hospitably by Pittsburgh Theological Seminary back in the days when Ron Peters was the director of the Metro Urban Institute. And so this is familiar territory for me. I would move to Pittsburgh, but I'm a Phillies fan, and I'm a Flyers fan, and so I hope you lose the cup.
That's cold-blooded, too.
We're not going to win. We haven't won it in 40 years, so why should you guys get another one, you know? Yeah, I actually have watched hockey games at the Igloo, so I've got a Pittsburgh history, and it's good to be in this part of the state. Much more friendly, much more laid back, kind of Midwestern. I was at a 12-step meeting last night, and they were saying, we're gonna have an event next week, and there's gonna be plenty of pop, and, you know, my ears weren't, I didn't have my Midwestern translation on, and I thought the woman said pot, and I was like, we're trying to get away from that stuff. So I'm really glad to be here, and I think that we can have a really good conversation today about how congregations can get involved in business free entry. The project that I facilitate is called Healing Communities, and it has its genesis in a conversation that we had at the Annie E. Casey Foundation in 2006. The Annie E. Casey Foundation is one of the philanthropic wings of the United Parcel Service, which was founded by the Casey brothers in Seattle several decades ago. And the Casey brothers were raised by their mother, Annie E. Casey. She was a single mother. And she did the best she could to raise her sons, and they started a little courier business, and now it's What Can Brown Do For You? And as they came into their own financially, they decided that they believed that children who came from poor circumstances with single mothers or with no parents at all and were in the foster system were in need of special programming and assistance, and that's where they made their investments. And so by the 1990s, the Annie E. Casey Foundation had become the foundation with the largest portfolio investment in the lives of poor children and families in the country. In the late 90s, one of the things that became very apparent to the foundation, to other people in the philanthropic world, to many people in the political world, was that the draconian sentencing practices that get tough on crime, the 3 strikes you're out, all of those different sentencing practices that emerged in the war on drugs and the war on crime had created such a large number of people in the criminal justice system that we could project actuarially that the year 2006 would have the most men and women returning from state and federal prison in the history of this country. The projections, and we knew this back in the 90s, the projections were that between 670 and 700,000 men and women would be coming home from state and federal prison in 2006. And that's not including county jails. And so the question became, are we going to be prepared for such a large number of men and women coming back from a system that calls itself a correctional system, but in many respects actually hardens people and further alienates them and further punishes them. And they come from neighborhoods that are similarly distressed. And so you're taking people out of a system that has not been helping them for X number of years and putting them into neighborhoods that are already in distress. Who's going to be there to be a support for them and to help the reintegration process and to build stronger communities? In New York State, for example, there were, in the 1990s,